we are briefly in El Gran Capitan, fight for Naples. What's happened? Well, Cordoba made a overbold move that the game tries to dissuade you from doing by not giving you enough command points to do it, pushing forward, and he destroyed Namur's army. However, that put him in a position where he's taking attrition, having some difficulties, and he has no action points. None are due until February. A weird revolt type thing, an event that I wasn't really aware was going to happen, which is cool. Switched over Calabria, Ultra, and Citra into French control, but I was able to restore that almost immediately. Other than that, not a hell of a lot's happened. French Albini is down here facing Colonna and Prospero Colonna, and he's in for a rude surprise when he hits him, because he's got more troops than Albini kind of probably hopes he does. Otherwise, the French don't have a lot of commanders. They do have some reinforcements coming, especially late in the game. Now, in this next year, and I'll place them after I switch years, late in the next year, the Spaniards have some additional reinforcements as well. Not a hell of a lot, though. De Andre, I mean, there aren't big armies in this, which makes sense. And yeah, we're at a point where the French have managed to flip the Basilicata, and the Spanish have not. Actually, they gained some ground here in Principato Ultra, and they're in Terra del Lavoro. They're close. If they can seize Naples, I think they get it. I'd have to recount to make sure, but you know, certainly if they take this in Naples, they do get it. And their problem there, and their problem honestly everywhere, is that they don't have the action points. I probably cheated and gave them more than I should have. I think one turn, and that's what made Cordoba do weird shit. Had I realized, hey, I'm not getting any shit, I better back out. But I didn't. I think I gave them far too many points, like, you know, 3 on one of the turns. I'm not gonna, you know, I make mistakes, I play them out. It's just the nature of this. I'm making mistakes all over the place in this system. It's a cumbersome system that kind of doesn't, the gears don't fit in with the little gears in my brain very well. At the same time, I'm in the process of reorging my boxed stuff, and kind of stopped partway through. The partway through makes some sense. I don't really want to put a third layer of games up, because then I can't really store anything up there, and I also kind of like being able to see the railing. I don't want to go over there. I could actually put some along there, which might not be a bad idea, but we'll see. We'll see what I do. But right now I've got a couple extra boxes, and I kind of am worried about just propagating the movement all the way around. Even though I've got plenty of room back here, I used to have 3 rows of games back here, which works pretty well. But 2 is obviously advantageous. And if I get that crap out of the way there, but I have trouble with crap collecting everywhere, no matter what I do. Yeah. I mean, here's an example. I got, you know, my pens and stuff. Yeah, I don't go put them away or find a good place for them. I leave my clothes lying on the floor. I might need it again. All right. Anyway, might be able to get a little bit more in before I go dancing, but I wanted to cut the video where I was for whatever reason. October, weather's still good. Sheep are still not allocated to anyone. And we jump in. I don't think much is going to happen this turn. It's Friday morning, whatever, you know, late Friday, late into the darkness. I don't think a hell of a lot's going to happen. I'm going to concentrate on maybe the possibility of pushing into, actually I don't, well, if there's anywhere where I need to get myself into quarters. Remember, I can throw myself into quarters when the weather's bad as long as I'm in the right places. A pretty decent roll allowing them to make it here. A little late, but... And then these guys ping-ponged their way back into areas where, well, they're hoping they won't suffer. He's here at Ebola, which is not exactly where I want to be. If I'm here, I can build myself quarters. In Ebola, that's going to count as potentially barren land during the rain turns, which means I'll have to make a roll. It'll be during a rain turn, so it'll be a +1, so there's an actual chance I could lose something. For the Spaniards, again, we found ourselves a nice clear area. That's not friendly territory, shit. Maybe I don't want to be there. I think back here, 1, 2. I could probably have made it back here. I don't want to join Cordoba because I'll raise his attrition chances too high, which would be problematic. Although, so it kind of has a mixed thing, which is that having baronials with you is cool because you can take them as your losses and you just don't get impacted as badly. I think I got all those out. Now we go to the standard of playing around with things. La Police has to go ping pong himself, and I just haven't figured out what the hell to do with him. And he's not even helping me because he doesn't have any troops. I keep giving him troops and then being like, yeah, I don't really want to expend a command on him particularly. I have a few, but I just don't want to. Keep thinking about, because I got these 2 extra boxes here. One thing I could do, if I don't want to put them over there, I got enough space that, I don't have to duck my head too far down. I could slide a couple more boxes into here. Now, that's complex because the boxes that need to be over there, first of all, that would have to be rearranged a little bit, and it would have to be the 2 under there. So I'd have to do some lifting and playing around, and everything gets reshuffled, which is not as easy as putting 2 or 3 boxes in here. So I have room for another box worth of shit over here. I don't know. I really don't know. He moved in after fiddling, getting a couple of pass type units. I've got an interesting role here on Benavides. I don't think I can make De Leyva have control of everything, which means not yet, because he doesn't have an order, so I'd have to give him an order. Not sure of that. It actually might have made a bit of a difference here. I have a -2 to my movement, which lets me move 3. 1, 2, sorry to hear. Doesn't get me there. Okay, that's cool. I was worried that this thing, that I was going to land exactly on that, but I would actually land here. I don't know if it's worth moving, to be honest. I don't have to go up and take this or anything. If I move into here, I'm potentially in November mud, which would make that barren terrain, so I'd have a check. Benavides does not have a whole hell of a lot of forces, 6, 7, 8. I'd be at a 1 in 6 chance of losing stuff unless I was in quarters. Now I could move 1, 2, 3, build earthworks. That would put me in quarters next turn. That doesn't sound like a bad move. And I'm not going to put a little thing there. All right, I'm looking for earthworks. They're on the other side of pillage. That's too many pillages. So I think this is the best. I get myself as close as I can. I'm not across the river. If I went 1, 2, 3 to here, I wouldn't have the movement point for the earthworks. So the mountains are no worse than the wooded hills in terms of becoming barren or anything like that. So I'm okay there. And that's going to put me, I got 2 battle situations, one of which isn't going to be a battle. The other one potentially is. This is complicated. Albini, because this baronial force moved in underneath. And I got to look at the interactions there. I don't believe that I can consolidate that into, I guess that's Paredes there. No, that's Colonna. Oh, shit. I couldn't consolidate it. I guess I'll go here instead. Okay. So now there's no problem. Now I'm at a siege situation and forces are revealed. And the fact that Albini only has 6 and Colonna has 6. That's not great. I did manage to build earthworks there. I can't use them in defense in a battle. And obviously I can't use them in offense in a battle. If Colonna chooses not to defend the space, see, he's at a disadvantage during a siege in terms of the attrition table. But only if he's not got a line of communication and he has one. The real question is, do I want to fight? I've got firepower, it's not raining, my troop quality is 2. I don't know that I'm able to see everything, though. I think I'm just able to see the leader. And I don't know. Let's see what the fog of... There's not like a specific fog of war rule. It's kind of scattered around. Oh, Colonna has the higher initiative rating, I think. Let's check HIF, whether or not it takes into effect the fact that he's a garrison. Printed initiative, yeah. We are in, I checked this before, looks like there's a little bleed over, but I don't think that counts. I think we're in a wooded hill terrain, which means cavalry is reduced. I have infantry. I have firepower, but I don't think that matters worth a shit, except in a major battle. Albini, I don't know how much cav he has, but he happens to have some. Once again, I keep forgetting about this challenge combat. It wouldn't have applied here, but I would have known that he has heavy cav and he does not, if that were the case, for whatever that matters. Now, I do have earthworks, which allows me to double 2 SPs, and it counts as affecting terrain, which the wooded hill does not. So I would actually drop him below 1-to-1, but it's not rounded against you. You have to have 2-to-1 for things to work. I also don't know that for sure, I think. That's what I was trying to look up. Do I know how many strength points he has? Let me see. So, here's what it says. Information on the Capitan cards should be concealed from one's opponent. All military units are considered to occupy the same hex as the Capitano. Capitani starting the scenario may set up with their front side down. Newly dropped off Capitani are deployed face down. the hidden Capitani are only revealed, I think I just don't know how many strength points he has. Now, my knowledge of the scenario lets me have a pretty good idea that and the fact that he's been qualifying his points, I could actually count and know how many he has, more or less. So I know it's going to be a close battle. So I think what I'm going to do is, as the HIF, I'm going to deploy outside the fortress. I don't think I can force him to attack me in an entrenchment either. Not sure. Let's see. Like integrating some of these parts that I kind of know the rules for, but I'm not sure. So I select a contested hex occupying a fortress. The HIF may decide to attack or be attacked. (12.2.4). That's here. Forces are never required to attack, nor may be compelled by an enemy force to attack. They're both protected by earthworks, so neither can force the other to attack. If that's the case, I might as well just say he's essentially in the fortress he's besieged. Do I want to do that? Yeah, there's no real harm to it, I think. There's a harm in that breaking out becomes difficult if bad things happen. All right, we'll put the siege there, and both of these will be resolved along with attrition. I'm wrong. The French get no combat capabilities out of their earthworks. Their earthworks are only there to allow for a siege. So I can force them to attack, which I think I want to do. Which means we'll have a skirmish attack. This is going to be a meeting engagement. We gotta go to skirmish. This is, the attacking player has exited its starting phase, its starting hex, which means it's an counterattack. The Capitani are, there's only one of each. So yeah, so I have 2 3/4 strength points against 6 in affecting terrain, where these have a 2 quality, these have a 3 quality. Is that the only impacts? No. I have a 2 3/4 against 4 5 6 7, or sorry, 5 6 7 8 strength points. So it is a 2-to-1, which means that the combat table will be affecting terrain at +1 with a -1 on the die roll that Albini has to take. And he's being forced into the attack because his earthworks don't count in this scenario. He gets a 2. We each take a hit, but Albini was the loser. That means he's going to have to retreat from the battle, because I forced him to fight out in the open instead of giving him the siege situation. And he's going to have to make a quality check. I lose one of my firearms capable units. There is no firepower being used here that I'm aware of, unless you're in a major battle. Albini has to lose one. Whoa, 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 Swiss, hold on. Things might be different. Attacking a force with earthworks. I got a... If attacking a force with earthworks, what is this? I don't even know what this is. Is this good? This isn't good. This is a penalty. It's an additional -1. That can't be good. Now, I don't know if that's a quality impact or a modifier. It's in this area that has die roll modifiers over here, but it's in its own little box. Ugh. And I don't think this is in special unit types. Special tactics unit, no. Fuck. Special military units, no. Common combat procedure. Die roll modifiers. It feels like it's gonna be... Okay, wait. Reduce the quality of the attacking force by 1 if the most defending SPs are infantry with firearms. This is a major battle optional rule. 1.1. See, this is weird. This is under common combat procedures. Let's see if 1.1. This is where things get fucking confusing for me. All right. 1.2 is right here. I can't find 1.1. They're similar to, it's under tactical options. Is firepower something different there? Like, I don't know if firepower is just effective. Try to keep this page as I look for a firepower. Firearms. This appears to be a different functionality that you can use firearms units with, to use them kind of as skirmishers. So I think his quality went down by 1. Now, we were at a 3.2. That's going to be a 1B1 instead. Wow. Okay. But I'm still looking for this other effect. Unit type. Some combat units have special abilities that may affect combat. This is, see, die roll modifiers. All these are cumulative. SP ratio, leadership bonus, unit type is a cumulative. Yeah, so instead of 1D1, we go up here, 1D. He actually did not lose anything. I don't know. I took this loss here. He takes a 1 and a D. Now that D... where are results? A demoralization may also be applied to a combat unit not belonging to the quality unit. Yeah, I don't think that matters much, but I'll take that on the lands next. I think the fact that it says may is just like, oh, but somewhere I thought it said I had to do it to a unit that didn't have any. I don't know. I don't really care. So what were we on? Yeah, we're on 1D1. That means I gotta lose one. I did not lose one, and it's got to be off my main quality units. Okay. And maybe I moved something else, because I moved that, and I didn't move this, and I'm a little confused. So the loss, the demoralization, I've lost the battle. What is the effect of losing the battle? I think it requires me to retreat. But it also requires that I make a discipline check. And we're in the combat phase. We use troop quality, which is I guess these are still a 3, unless their quality gets reduced. So we are pretty good quality units. Do we have any pluses? Nope. Roll a 3. We passed that. Now I got to check to see, do I indeed have to retreat? The force whose combat units at the start total the most combat SPs represents the larger. The other is the smaller. If the losing side was the smaller force, it was, this force must retreat using its complete movement allowance. If it was the loser, if it was the larger, it must retreat 1 hex. All combat units belonging to the attacking or defending force will follow the path of the fight. This is incorrect. There is no pursuit. If the force was attacked inside, it cannot retreat. Yeah. Okay. So I thought we'd get a retreat order out of this as well. I think we get thrown into... Now this feels cheap because I had an attack order. I should have no attack at this point. So I got to go my full movement allowance, which at this point is 5 out of the hex. And we lose this. Going back the way we came. 1, 2.5. 3.5, 4.5 to there. There is no siege. I lied. Okay. This other one will be resolved through the attrition table. I really think Albini gets a retreat order. Let me check that. Because this says they're forced to retreat. It doesn't say anything about dropping an order on them. 12.2, execute the retreat. Let's see if that helps me. Okay, that's not showing up there. That is just not showing up in there. What did we say? Oh, was I crossing a river? Fuck. I was not. It's so hard for me to tell these kind of things, the hexside terrain and everything. Normally it's fine, you're just calculating odds or whatever on a hexside. Okay, if the forces execute the retreats according to the rules governing paths and priority, see execute the retreat 12.2. I went to 12.2. This is for major battle only. I went to 12.2 and I did not find and execute the retreat, but I'm guessing it's here instead. This is a retreat before combat. That's not it. Well, this is annoying. So they don't give me the number. Like if it was 12.21, I would expect to see it here. Yeah, I'm not seeing it at all there. And if I go to retreats for the order, let's see if that tells me anything secret. Like, I think I'm going to keep the attack order unless it tells me something. Forces using a retreat order may expend their using the rules in. I thought I got thrown. I thought I got thrown into a retreat order. This is major battle. I keep running into this because it's got like all these same rules again that the regular battle has. I really don't like that distinction. I understand why they're doing it, but I do not like it. I think I just retreat and I don't get thrown into a retreat order. I thought I got thrown into a retreat order. I can't find the rule. You see me looking, but not very hard. I'm going to go on to the attrition roll up here. That's fine. Anyone where they don't belong. These guys have to make attrition rolls, but at no penalty. He still has to make an attrition roll, but at no penalty. That's this in this Basilinica, which misses this space. All right. I think we're done. Fuck. All right, the French got some reinforcements. I gotta swap batteries. Let me figure out what they would have done with their fucking reinforcements. Too easily confused. I removed the dice, didn't see the extra unit. So this could have shown up with the Capitano Generale. Fuck. Let me redo this. I'm much clunkier. I didn't take fucking losses. Yeah, I did. Okay. Let me redo this whole battle. Because Albini was in there. He would have had a lot more strength points. Do I know he has these? I don't know. Or inside a city of a French-aligned state occupied by a French force. Okay. So this would be a French minor general. It's this one with him. In that case, he's got room for it. Would he... Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass because if I didn't have room for him, I couldn't deploy him with him because there's no reorg at that point. Given that I know when the scenario reinforcements happen, I'm going to again say that I know the strength points here. I'm going to put this here, and we're going to call that a siege. He wouldn't have enough strength to just storm. So we'll go to that siege operation there instead. And that means we have 4, 5, 6, 10, 13 strength points, which is not good. Fuck. On the attrition table. And we are sitting... We have a siege level 0 there. I'm not even going to worry about those counters. They make a mess out of shit. And I did this attrition check already. Counters all over the cleanup. 16 strength points. This is not good. And this fucker has only 6, which means he can just survive out there. Wow. Okay, 16 strength points, 5. I take a hit. I can take it off anything I like. I will take it off of this. And I don't feel like I'm in a good position here at all, because I'm a bigger force. Therefore, I lose more troops to my attrition. And I can't really... I don't have anything that I can blockade the road. No matter what, I don't have anything. I would have to, like, put units here and here, you know, have units on both sides. And I don't have anything near that can do this. So I'm just in a losing proposition here with this siege. However, knowing the troops, whether or not I could know the troops, is not clear to me. But knowing the troops, I'm not fighting him in the castle, right? Like, storming the castle doesn't work. I have no artillery, I have no engineers. I have none coming to me. I have no capability to take land in this game, is basically my problem. So I think the French are essentially on the defensive because of what Cordoba did. Oops. All right. Well, fuck it. Like, I can't keep trying to, you know, fix things. Like, I could have not brought him here and let Albini hit. I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to think anymore. All right, so we're going into bad weather with us in a terrible position, unfriendly territory, under in a contested hex, going into the bad weather. I think, like in that first game where, the last scenario, where Ferrandino walked into a siege situation that he didn't want to be in, I'm just going to have to pull out and wander my way back. I don't know if this is any worse than the casualties I took from the fight. At least I did some damage to him in the fight, but I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, it's very easy, especially if you don't know what the enemy has. Now, I feel like when you're in the same hex, you should know what his strength points are. And I definitely would have brought these extra troops under those circumstances, and definitely we would have seen the results we just saw come out of that. Because we'd be in a contested hex, I might as well have the siege underway, sure. All right, so that's where we are. It's really hard to kind of understand how the system all fits together. That's, at least for me, it's very, very difficult when I'm facing, you know, unfamiliar type designs. But even with, like, the Zucker games, which I've played a number of times, I find myself struggling to figure out how things interact in a way that, like, I don't have that same kind of problem with more familiar designs, right? Like, you know, we go to the classics that I always point over here. There's a lot of non-classics in there. But, you know, we go to the stuff where, whether it's in hex combat or not in hex combat or whatever, there's a lot of shit going on in this that's just not comfortable, that I'm just not comfortable with. Knowing the rules explicitly, I shouldn't know how many strength points each opponent has. That feels improper to me, okay? To me, it feels like I should be making my combat decisions kind of knowing what I'm facing. Like, I'm not going to storm the castle if I can see that it's bristling with men, right? I'm just not going to do it. And but the way the rules are written, I would be put in that position where a 1 strength point unit inside the castle could hold me off because I can't tell whether or not it's, 1 or 6, like, so that's kind of problematic. I'm taking kind of a middle ground here, which is that I don't know what's there until I hit it. Now, one side of that is the players do have the information of the setup for the game available to them. So they actually have a better knowledge of how many troops are there than probably they should. Like the amount of commitment that Spain made and that France made, that's probably not really known to the commanders. But what would be at least close to known is when you come up against the castle and start digging your earthworks and building your siege levels for it, that you would have a pretty good idea of how big a force you're facing. I can see where maybe you don't know exactly like how they're distributed among the different forces in a hex or whatever, so that like the skirmish battle could end up causing some weird shit. But how do you choose which commander in a multi-force, in a hex with multiple forces, that you want to attack you if you don't have an idea of what their sizes are and whatnot? It feels like it would be an incredibly annoying blind play to do it that way. Knowing the exact composition of the forces, though, that feels a little extreme. So I feel like there's some kind of middle ground that it should be, but that it's kind of not. Now, you do know the rank of the commanders, but, I mean, they could have really, really big units under their command, and those only take one of their command points. So it doesn't really give you an idea of the size of the force. And in actuality, you probably do have some idea of the size of the force that you're looking at. It's really unlikely that you would blunder completely. And I feel like the initiative factor, getting to choose and whatnot, that's all like turned into garbage if you don't know what's on these cards at all. If you have no idea of the strength points on the cards. And it does kind of say, or it does explicitly say, you can kind of never look at the cards, which feels like, okay, I want to make sure that Albini is the guy that attacks me, but I don't know what he's got. And then I might tell you, no, you can't. All he has is artillery. Ha ha. And then you're like, okay, well then what? Do I choose to attack instead? Can I make that switch? All that kind of stuff is left kind of in a blur. Whereas if you have a pretty good idea of what the forces are on the different units, you can make informed decisions and actually make use of that initiative bonus, which feels more in line with how the game's intended to play, but it's not how the rules are written. I'm trying to find that middle ground, but yeah. There it is, barely Monday morning, not quite 1 a.m. And yeah, my grasp on whatever reality I live in is falling apart faster and faster. Here we're going into a November turn. This is one of the winter economic turns, whatever, which means all our orders get cleared away, but we don't get any points, which is terrible. We also obviously don't get any, there's no crowns, so we don't get any baronials or anything like that. So let's see what whether anything interesting happens. Well, for weather is mud, which means I have to pay attention because we might be getting ourselves nasty nasty effects off the attrition table as well. And one of these decisions I have to make. Albini here. Okay, I'm spending a command point on Allegre, and basically I think I have a slight advantage in the siege now, because that's not enemy. So I'm not in hostile territory, but I am in wooded hills with the mud, which means I'm going to have to make a roll. I'm giving him a stand order. He's going to have a +1, though, for the weather, as is his opponent. So I have a slight advantage, which is that, like, on a 5 I survive, but the force under there would not. Okay. And I'm also placing quarters and whatnot where I think they're necessary. But Albini is much more interesting. With 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12 strength points. And Colonna here has 6 strength points. Now, 12 strength points is not a great table. I'm sitting in a contested hex. I believe I have a supply line still going back. So I would be rolling on here with a +1, which means I get hit on a 4 or worse, whereas my opponent gets hit on a 5 or worse. This isn't too different from the situation I was in before. I think what I have to do is I have to drop myself into a retreat order, which I get for free. There is no cost to retreat. And the problem, of course, with that is I'm taking an attrition check pretty much no matter where I end up after this. I don't see anywhere I can end up that I'm not going to take a nasty attrition check. I am in friendly territory at least. So maybe if I build earthworks, I can go into quarters eventually. But maybe things will work out for me. But yeah, as it stands, it's just not a good situation. And I think I'm going to look towards, you know what? The French are in the lead right now with 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Actually, they're behind. I thought they were in the lead. Yeah. I'm just looking. They're like 1 behind in terms of total areas. Yeah. So they can't really go on the defensive here. Well, yeah, they can. French marginal victory is between -2 and 0. Okay. However, there's something weird. Isn't there? Yeah. If the result is exactly 1, the side owning Naples wins a standard victory. Now, that's weird because I've already talked about that. So I think I can win the game if I can hold the territory that I'm holding. And whether it's a marginal or standard, yeah, strictly by the rules, it would be a marginal, but I don't want to try to, to cut hairs and get to that exact 1 where somehow I get a standard victory. Because 0 is French marginal, 2 is a Spanish marginal, and I've already talked about this. But yeah, I think I need to retreat, try to preserve my forces. Going over to the Spaniards, they have no fucking points, and the only unit, I'm going to keep garrison on everybody else, the only unit that doesn't is Benavides here, who could go into garrison. How big is he? Well, 1, I can reorganize him to De Leyva at this point. I haven't had an option before this. So let's do that. Get me a slightly better initiative. I'm still in road march if I keep a movement order on play, but I don't have the points for that. I'm at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going into garrison is not a problem for him. So he also will do that. And yeah, so the only thing that's going to be continued is this siege here. I will continue looking, though, at the baronials because some of them want to go in quarters. Weirdness about the way the in quarters orders are written. In the winter quarters, during the command phase, a player may declare any force or forces in his army with standard garrison to enter quarters. I don't know if they have them or not. Like, this is the weird thing. You're only allowed to have orders on so many of these guys. I don't know if they have them or not. But if I put him under orders, this guy doesn't have to be. If I put them under orders, I can declare them in garrison, but in order to be in quarters, it must be in a fortress or earthworks. Now, I'll have the time to dig the earthworks, so my way of kind of reading into this rule, either there's an implied contradiction between the two rules, or I can go into quarters as long as I commit an order to him. And this is the problem. Do I have to give orders to all these fuckers? I don't know. Either I can go into quarters and then dig the earthworks, or how to enter quarters, like in order to be in quarters. But to enter, I don't have to be in that. Like, can I enter quarters and I immediately lose it? What's up with that? And again, I feel like the baronials need to be able to winter, you know, regardless of the amount of commanders you have on the field. Now, maybe this is an attempt to further limit the number of baronials you can have, I don't know. But I'm allowing them to go into quarters as long as they aren't doing anything. Right? Problem with that is that there aren't enough siege and in quarters markers to handle all of this. Oh, here's another problem with this guy. If he retreats, he's going to be pursued. Fuck. Well, I don't have the points to continue. I don't know. Like, it's going to be several. I'm going to have to spend a point on a couple of turns and take bad attrition a couple of times. I just don't think I can. I don't think I can avoid the retreat. Going into sieges is so fucking dangerous. Like, it really is. If you have enough forces to cover the enemy force, like, you might end up equal. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm at this, geez, you know. And technically, these guys can be in quarters. But if they go in quarters, they give up the siege, which I don't really want to do. I'm willing to take the attrition check there. But yeah, although they'd be in a contested hex, which honestly is no worse than the siege. Let's do that. Yeah. Honestly, the way the baronials interact and whatnot, with their limited number of orders and everything, when I thought they all had to have orders, I was okay. Mistakenly thought that they all had to have orders. Now it's like, wow, there's parts of the rules that are grinding against each other in ways that I don't like. And maybe they're intended to be that way. One nice thing, the designer is like, I'm all in favor of house ruling stuff. So I'm like, cool. Because when I feel like there are things that just aren't working for me, I think an argument could be made either way, right? Like, as to whether or not the baronials should disappear more often or whatever. And I kind of get the feeling that, like, there's sort of not a significant level of yeah, this really should be done this way by the designer, which makes me happier because that way my mistakes and whatnot are easier to cope with. For this yucky weather, nobody's going to be moving essentially. Some people might be building earthworks, whatever. I just slapped them down. And that means we can jump. Well, there is one movement, which is Albini here. So let's take a look at his attempt to withdraw. Because it's the only important, I could do roll-offs against zeros and everything. I guess I got to do that. I'll come back when we come to him. He might well just be able to blast through everything or get a good roll and be able to get away based on that. Ladder, I got a perfect roll. And in fact, it might have made more sense for the Spanish to just pass. So, whatever. But anyway, I got a perfect roll on the first shot, which means I have an initiative of 3 plus 1 for retreating. I only get 1 activation though. So I have a 4, minus 1 gives me 3 extra movement points. So I'm going to have 9 movement points at my availability. Now, if we look at the pursuit table, where are we facing? Prospero? Yeah. Prospero has 6 infantry, which means I don't want to get even a 10%, because that would be a hit, and I don't have anything I can really take on me. Which means that, what does the asterisk mean? Oh, the pursuing Capitano can take a loss on a natural 1. I didn't realize that. What did I say I have? I have 9 movement points. Now, if I want to flee back to here, 1, 2.5, mud might. I don't think it does. I think it's only rain that does. Yeah, only rain makes it expensive. There is a bridge, so it's 1, 2.5, call it 3. Cost me 3 movement points to get back there, 4. I'm going to put 5 of my movement points towards evading this pursuit. Which means there's going to be a minus 5 on the die roll, which guarantees that I'm okay. The only thing that's dangerous is the pursuer on a 1 follows me anyhow and gets himself hurt. He, I believe, has to try to pursue. And that means we flee back to here and essentially take our earthworks with us. We could not enter quarters because we were not in garrison or hold orders. We can switch to them next turn. Okay. So we got away from there, and now I have the attrition checks. And the important ones are really, I don't know, there's quite a few. Because Cordoba has a big force. So, yeah, I'll come back with whatever the pain is. The problem with this is there are attrition checks kind of all over the place. Because the muddy weather, even being in quarters is fine for the 1-point guys, but a force that's larger than a 9 is going to have a possibility of taking losses from the bad weather anyhow. I think Valley Forge or whatever, yeah. It ain't Valley Forge, but again, you're talking about, 10% or less of the force getting knocked out, although it's possible it could be worse. There weren't a hell of a lot of valid checks, actually, because most things are in quarters or didn't need to be. Over here, Allegre lost a unit. That's a strength point. That's important because, well, he no longer has 2 to 1, but he was trying to starve them out anyway. And he does not own this territory yet? Seriously? I think he actually does. He has 1, 2. Okay. So now the Spaniards aren't in the lead. Capitana has not switched over. Oh, wait, no, this is over in Capitana. Oh, fuck. Again, these borders. Pain in the ass for me. Pain in the fucking ass. Like, they're just almost invisible. Albini's force had to make a roll. Cordoba's force had to make a Cordoba's force had to make a roll. And that's it. That gets us to the second turn of November. At least nobody has to pay points, although Albini probably wants to get rid of that retreat order and switch it. I was not in quarters, but I rolled very low. Switch it to something that allows me to go into quarters. Let's see what the weather is. Let's just do another quick one because nothing's going to happen. 4 sounds like more mud. All right, yeah. And we're going to be in the same kind of situation with nothing really happening except for this. I am in quarters not besieging him. Why is that a big deal? It actually is. It gives me a reduction to my points, but that means that this guy can be in quarters too. And yeah, screw that. I was not in quarters. I was not in quarters. Because if I go into quarters, I'm no longer besieging him, which means he no longer gets the modifier. So I wanted that. I wanted that chance of a 6 destroying that. Okay. And the roll was fine either way. It would have done 1 either way. In fact, Allegre could not have died. It could not have lost a strength point if he was in quarters. Should I be doing this? I don't know. It was with the intention I had, was that both of them roll, and they did, and he lost, and there we have it. Yeah, so Albini here is going to give up his retreat, and we're doing a switch to garrison, which costs 0. And that allows me to be in quarters as well, which reduces my chances. This time he managed to beat out the forces he was besieging. Both sides rolled a 5 plus 1 is 6, but 6 is bad for a besieged force. Right? I mean, that's what I've been thinking, but I have to find the asterisk here. I know it's in here. Ah, yeah. Important note, a besieged force taking a 0 star must do a discipline check. Ah, I thought it was just a death. Okay, so that was I think a discipline. It's a discipline 1 unit that turns into a 0. How odd. It's better when it's not controlled by anybody. So, is that right? Pretty much. So we got a 4. That was a failure. A failure means it will be disordered and or demoralized and it'll surrender. Which means Molise did go over, and I figured out why I had a couple of pieces over here. They cover these things. So the Molise one has to go up there to be generable now. I haven't done my rolls for Albini and Cordoba. I think those are the only ones I have to worry about again. Like, I tried to figure it out. 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. In quarters now. Which means on a 5 or a 6, because the bad weather's there. And this time we take a hit. Take it off this. I don't know. I don't know if I like having 2 units or not. I could always combine them. I could combine them into that big unit and maintain some flexibility in case more come in, because I see there's more up here. Although I think I got to combine all three to do that, so I don't know. And the last is Cordoba, who had 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, which is an okay number. And again, a plus minus. We do not take a loss. We get a 0 asterisk. No, we get a nothing. Okay. That's that turn. Now we're on another clear turn, so I'm gonna break at this point. Although I don't expect anything to happen until we get more points in February, unless the weather clears or something. But even then, the weather's too likely to turn into shit. Like, we're in December here. If a good turn happens in December, it's still likely it's going to be bad in January. So I don't want to maneuver, during the winter. Now it's, what, I guess early Tuesday. Maybe still Monday. I didn't check. I know it's close. My decline still going on. I'm like only awake to play Raid all night long and this other game. But I have a little bit of time right now. Obviously, can't go outside and cut wood, can't go shopping. Oddly, when I first lived here, it was a civilized area. The supermarkets were open 24 hours, which is what I was used to. Everywhere I've lived before, like real supermarkets were open, but something really strange happened, and they started deciding, they actually, before I left, they decided they couldn't stay open 24 hours anymore. But it's just kind of weird, like, I don't know. It just seems like part of the decay in America. Like, there was a period back in the 80s and 90s and even 2000s when, things like supermarkets were just open 24 hours, and there was no problem with it. You had very few people in the store and whatnot. Not that I would do that here at this time of year and whatnot, but yeah, whatever. It was definitely very helpful to me back then. All right, let's take a look at the weather. We are in December. That can't be good. But it is. It's fair weather. Don't think anybody's going to do anything, because next month's January, which is, again, likely to be yucky weather, and nobody's got any points. The French have a few left over. This is actually a point turn, which means I may have to spend somewhere. Like Allegari here had a stand order. He can switch down to a garrison order because he took his location. And Albini is in garrison orders at this point. So we actually get rid of the previous attacks. And obviously the Spaniards have no points. There are a couple of larger forces, Albini's force, Cordoba's force, which presumably could be hit by attrition effects. Albini could drop into a retreat if he wanted to. Cordoba here is in friendly territory, but he's in hills, which turns into barren land in rain turns, and rain turns are possible. Fairly likely. This might not be a bad idea to split my force up and whatnot. However, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 isn't a terrible number. I'm in quarters. So, if I split 4 strength points off, though, which would be Colonna here, if I split him off with a retreat order, which costs nothing, it actually works. It'll save me the points. Now, is that a good idea or a bad idea? That's the big question. He could fall back to here, and he has room for this guy. So I think, let's not give him an attack order. I think I'm going to issue a retreat order to Kelowna. And he will be here. And then for Albini, he has 4, 5, 9, 10, 11. 11 is also not safe. If I split French Minor A out. So again, I'm in terrain that's problematic. Now, I'm in quarters, as is Kelowna, but I don't really feel safe in splitting my force. So I'm going to keep that 1 in 6 chance. Now, that doesn't hit me this turn, but it might hit next turn, and if I threw a retreat order into place, I could fall back with a small force, you know, back to like here or something. But then I have to coordinate to get things together, and I'm in close contact with the enemy. Keep forgetting that special rule. I don't think it applies in anything but good weather. But it is good weather, which is the Disfida. Within 2 hexes of heavy cav. I'm within 2 hexes of him. So, what happens? The challenged force would have to do... So, if the enemy side refuses, the challenged force would have to make a discipline check. Otherwise, both players roll a die with a bonus for the declaring player and an advantage for the higher quality of the unit they put out there. I've got like 3 quality heavy cav. So I think I'm going to try it. I'm going to declare a Disfida against, and this is Prospero Kelowna here. Actually, the weather doesn't have to be nice. Well, he says, I ignore you. I am infantry. So that doesn't actually happen. But, okay. And that's going to be... Oh, I got to move Kelowna. Let's just do that. I'm not worrying about all the intricacies going on here. This guy, the hell's he doing in the woods? That's a horrible place. 1. I mean, he's going to be there. He really ought to have earthworks. Oh, I have quarters between both of them, which means he was under earthworks. Okay. So, and they might as well both be. Kelowna pulls back to here, and he will pick this guy up, and that means now I have no chance next turn of any problems with attrition. And that gets us to January. Do a quick check on weather. This wasn't really a turn. Like I said, the winter's easy, but, you know, I can go downstairs and watch a video or whatever I do. It is now raining. So now on this next turn, we are going to have problems. And moving wouldn't really help because then I wouldn't be in quarters anymore. So I'd still be at risk even with a small force. So what happens this turn? We enter a new year and I get to put these down. I'll do that and I'll come back. The additional leaders coming in, Saluzzo and Gonzaga, both coming in for the French. The gray counters are, I think, they switch sides between scenarios and whatnot. Trying to think if anything's going to happen. We're going to have to make an attrition check for Albini. That is, I think, the extent of what we see here. Again, his retreat order, he can cancel that and buy himself a garrison order at this point. And Albini, I think if he rolls a 6, he's in trouble. A 2, he certainly is not. And again, we shift down another turn to February 1. I'll put the dice here. I did 2 big turns of nothing. I need a break after that. Not much has happened. I mean, I've been on camera the whole time, but this is just how I am. I'm like, yep, done enough. I'd energized myself enough to come up here and do a little bit of February at least. We got rain again, but this is a points turn, so we got 3 points for each guy. Kind of a lucky roll for the Spaniards, to be honest. And, well, even though it's raining, let me take a look. Where is it? Barren is swamp. Heath, hill, marsh, and mountains are all considered barren. So there's some chance. Plus, we got the +1 for the bad weather. So there's some possibility of issues arising. The question is, of course, do we want to advance or not in each case? And, well, I'll try to figure that out. It makes sense to stay in quarters still. Again, unlike the last scenario, the Ferrandinos War, it doesn't feel like there's a tremendous rush to get everything done in this one. The other one felt like there was a tremendous time pressure. This one's a longer scenario, and obviously there could be a fight. It goes into the January turn of next year for some reason. But the rest of, I've got a whole summer of campaigning to do. So I've got kind of hopes on both sides that it doesn't make a lot of sense to risk further attrition by moving about and leaving quarters. The actual risk, I think, was to Albini, nobody else. If you're in quarters, you're going to get a -1 for that, the +1 for weather. It cancels out. And Albini did take a loss, so another Swiss infantry is gone. Kind of, I don't have a great feel for where the Swiss are good. They're good in clear terrain. They're bad in attacking through a breach. They're bad in attacking earthworks or defending them, I guess, because it goes the opposite direction, which kind of makes sense. These are big pike formations. They really don't make a lot of sense behind earthworks in the same way. Now, the question is whether a plus or -1 to the die roll, which is I think what we're looking at, is a sensible thing. If that actually fits, as opposed to reduce it, trying to figure out what their frontage should be and all that. I just don't know, and again, they would deploy differently if they're in earthworks. So, but it's not like it just cancels out the earthworks, because the way the earthworks work is that the defender gets 2 of his strength points doubled, or up to 2, and gets a bonus against artillery fire. It's not like it's just, canceling out that bonus from the terrain. It doesn't do that. And I have a hard time grasping, am I getting an advantage out of the earthworks or not with my troops? And that may all depend on the size of the forces and all kind of stuff like that. It just feels really weird. Anyway, all we had this turn was a loss of the 1 unit for Albini. Now, what are the reinforcements? Let's do another turn because they're easy right now. course, if the weather turns clear, they might not be. It's a 3 in February. That is fair. See, the thing is, there's only 2 mud turns after this, or 2 mud chances after this. And yeah, mud's not great. It slows you down, and it increases, I believe, your attrition check. Yeah, any weather increases the attrition check. But if you don't have to make an attrition check, that doesn't matter. So right now, these guys do not have to make an attrition check, but if they moved on, they would be in enemy territory, and they would. The French do not have to make an attrition check, but if I end up in a contested hex, I would have to. But I would also force Colonna to make one. And that puts me in this ugly position of like, yeah, okay, but which is better? I know what he's got troop-wise, right? Because I was sitting there. So he's got 6. I've got 4, 8, 9, 10. Which means I'm on a slightly worse table. But yeah, I think the +1 is still worse for me. It's kind of weird because once it gets to good weather, it's better to be the besieger. There's no question about that, unless you have a bigger force. But if I lose 1 more strength point, I don't have a bigger force. I'm wondering if just Cav can siege. I don't remember there being any restriction on that. But I remember other games where that is the case. Yeah, I don't see any limitation on that. And of course, the Cav can dismount and whatnot. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we'd need different orders for that. So even though it's decent weather... Oh, wait, it's decent weather. Oh. Next turn... Yeah, gosh. It seems like I could spend to move Albini. If I wanted to give him attack orders, it would cost 4. It would have only cost 3 to do it for the entire month, and it would give me a prior attack and all kind of crap like that. It seems like a bad idea for him. And I don't think Cordoba wants to, because he doesn't want to take an attrition check for no reason. So I would say it's going to be another turn of nothing, except we have these. That's what I was going to look up. Where do my reinforcements come in? And this is February 2. Any French force with a Capitano Generale are inside a city of a French-aligned state occupied by a French force. So this is problematic. I could add 3 more strength points to this force. That would definitely make it more powerful. Alternatively, I could throw these additional forces, say over here with La Police, and give him a garrison order, whatever, give him those troops, and then have something in the way of Cordoba. I'm worried that Cordoba turns around and destroys my remaining army. But I'm also worried that he comes forward. However, knowing how big he is, I don't think... What does this do to my strength? That's a good question. 7, 11, 12, 13. 13 is no worse than 10. So I'm going to put the reinforcements with him, leave everything alone, and I make a quick and ugly check. Yeah, see, he's in enemy-occupied territory, but he's in quarters, but he's also, which cancels out the mud. And here we're in quarters, that cancels out the mud as well. But a roll of a 6 means we take a loss of another strength point. Great. As we continue to melt away. And that'll get us to the March turn. Not a lot happening. I think I'll wait till April. I'll finish March up before I load this up. But my battery's wearing down, and again, doing a couple of turns of nothing. I still feel like I don't want to do anything else. And we're coming on a crown turn, so we're going to get the baronial reinforcements. And I think I've kind of, where I've made mistakes in this one, I think I've kind of made up for them. That first one, the Ferrandino's War scenario, not the first one, but the second one, really. I fucked up badly enough by reducing the movement rates because of these counters. And my inability to understand the comment that someone tried to post. You really got to hit me over the head with things if you want me to understand them. But an oddity, it's actually light out, and I'm up here. It's actually raid time. I'm gonna push a turn out because I got to bed. It was still dark out. That's cool. That's better than I've been doing. I've been getting to bed at like, I don't know, like 11 a.m. sometimes. Anyway, not energetic enough to have gotten anything done. I need to go shopping. Again, I'm not going to starve, but I'm out of all the stuff. I had been doing pretty well for the past couple months in terms of never running into this position. This is how I was some months ago. And then, I've got all this fucking wood that I'm just not getting anywhere on. All right, so we are in March, which is possibly good weather. Yep. So we're going into fair weather. This is an economic turn. Points, AP points are going to be handed out. All the orders have to be reestablished. And the campaigning season has essentially started. Oh, okay. So the French got their points. The Spanish are due 3. But the French placement here actually, I believe, cuts off the Spanish supply line. So the Spanish are coming from here, Terre de Berry. I can't make it down this road. I could make it to here, down to here. This road's cut off. This road, of course, cut off. Come down to here. This road's cut off. I've got no path back to Cordoba. This is problematic. Cordoba is going to be further delayed, and I should have noticed this. Cordoba is going to be further delayed. He's going to have to shift his headquarters for supply down to Reggio as the only safe place for him to get ordered, to get into position. I also am cut off from giving Piñero any orders. I don't think I want to force orders on Piñero, so I'll have to take a 0-point orders for him. Kind of weird that there was the initial bold move Cordoba took that put him in a position where it looked like the French war effort was done. But now he's actually in a position where he's getting to a slower start and more time is going to pass getting us closer to these large, especially Gonzaga, reinforcements that can still come in. Now, I got me a problem. I've got Gonzaga, Saluzzo, and French Minor B supposedly there. French Minor B has some forces on him. And the Spanish have De Andrade and Alviano. That's fine. The problem is that French minor B is not on the board. Who the hell has him? This is one of those cases where I gotta hunt down and find because I fucked up somehow. And I don't know. There we go. This is it? Yeah. So this should be June 1st. Oh, there he is. Okay. The problem is, it's these gray counters. They confuse me. So I was looking at, okay, I got Gonzaga and I got, and I've got Saluzzo on the board, and I looked at them as these two. Yeah. Okay. So I'm all set and okay to go. It's just those gray counters get me confused, and I'm like, whoa, where's this dude? Okay. All right, let's, we also get our minor captains at this point. Terminology, barons. I was running through for the orders. I don't know why I did this, because I'm still working my way through here. Pro-French. I noticed De Leyva has a road march on him. He couldn't. He was no longer in maneuver orders, so that would be gone. Just in case you were wondering what the hell is going on. Also mistaken, I think I said Pinheiro was over here. It's actually Paredes who's over here. Pinheiro is over here. So swapping things around as I go there. I've gotten troops down for all of these. Terra de Berry is still left. Some of the annoyances, some of the control boxes here, so like Principato Ultra, it looks like it's right here. It goes up to here. Okay. Again, not, there's this taking important gameplay information and kind of obscuring it so that the map is more beautiful. This causes me problems, but in particular in this case, I've got all these control markers over here. They don't need to be there. Spain owns all of this. I saw this and I'm like, well, why are there Spanish control markers there? Well, because that's French. This is the Spanish one. So then the question becomes, why are they up there? As I try to understand what the map's trying to tell me. Again, if I was playing this more vigorously, I guess, it would probably not cause this kind of problem. This is not a game that should take a week, to get through the scenario, okay? But it takes me forever nowadays. So we worked out the command situation. The Spanish are pretty much locked in with nothing they can do. I'll put this to moving so that next turn it shows up at Riggio if I wish. And that's important because it actually shows up next turn, not next economic phase. So I will get the capacity to operate next time. The French, having cut off so many lines of communication, basically all of the Spanish forces have gotten cut off. These guys plunged too far forward. These guys got themselves cut off by Albini here. Clever guy. Are taking a couple of actions. I spent a point on Allegre to get him moving, try to take Capitana, and then position myself in some sort of way that I can try to face Cordoba with what remains of the French army at some point. But Albini himself is going to continue again against Bernalda, I guess it is. I removed most of the quarters markers. I can always reestablish them if weather gets bad again. The earthworks, though, well, the Spanish earthworks are of importance. This French one is also of importance if he wanted to go into quarters. He's got an attack order, so he's not going to. Time to play with the barons. There are almost none of them moving. They're all serving kind of important purposes. Like these guys, if he forces an order, problems could come out where I lose Terra di Lavoro, which is problematic. This one has to sit here for the port. Otherwise, the Spaniards could shift up and operate from the north instead. And they can actually make that their supply source. They don't have a lot of shipping capability, so it's probably not going to happen, but I want to cover it. But this guy can operate. But I think I got one there as well. The Spanish ones, again, they're kind of serving a purpose with where they are. The only one who's not is this guy. But I couldn't think of something I wanted to do with him. So moving down towards the action, and here, moving to cut this river line, you know, I don't know if this is wise or not. I know that when I was back here, I ran away, but I was also in unfriendly territory. Here I'm defending in friendly territory behind a river line in the mountains. It's not enough to stop anyone, and they could even do an attack from March, the kind of overrun rules in the game. I can kind of ignore all the garrisons. Yes, I could play games to try, or I will play games to try and cancel out some of the movement here. This was one of the biggest things in the Ferrandino's War, was that both sides were fucking around with their garrisons, because I saw init -0 instead of =0. And thought the garrison units could somehow affect the operations of everything else. And so somebody like Cordoba was sitting there with a 5 initiative, and he would be able to knock out all the French commanders. That's not the way the game is supposed to be played. It's not how the rules work. The garrisons aren't supposed to have any initiative at all. You still get to roll for them. If they win an initiative, or if they're forced to do something, they'll build earthworks at best or whatever, recover. But what they won't be able to do is they won't be able to screw with the movement of other forces. Now, it is possible that a mobile force on one side of the board fucks with a mobile force on the other side. I'm okay with that. There's sort of this combined thing. Like, they should have no effect on each other, but there's no easy way to handle that. You could create zones, but then, like, there would be a different kind of inconsistency that would happen with that. But the truth of the matter is, you know, this guy here should have no effect on what's going on down here. Okay, Albini again has moved down. I ought to leave a garrison. Right, this is important because otherwise the Spanish can trace movement through everything. I don't want to give them that line of communications. This unit is doing, and he had earthworks there. This unit is doing a good job there. Okay. And he's reestablishing his siege. This crossroads is just very, actually it's not that important. It's important to the French, though. You don't want the Spanish grabbing it. Fair enough. Okay. And we've reestablished the siege, built our earthworks. However, we got no guns or anything, and we're still facing Prospero Colonna. Right? Where's the other Colonna? Oh, fuck. Fabrizio's down here. We're facing Prospero Colonna here. I hope I got the right people. I did there, apparently. Okay. Just getting my ordering in place. So this is going to be, and I may have been using him before. That's a P, not an F. So 6 strength points there, and Albini is still at 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, which means we look at the attrition table. He is cut off from supply at this point, and should have been before. So he's got a +1 on that table. Albini is fine. A 4 or 5 here doesn't hurt anything. We come to the end of the March turn. I hope I remember to put those in play. And now the campaign season is well underway. Yeah. Having a little struggle with the supply, you know, it's beginning to gel, seeing how I got to keep the roads and everything clear and everything. That didn't feel like it was a big deal. Not in the sense that it didn't matter, but that, like, hey, I marched over this territory, you know, it shouldn't be threatened. But the nature of where the Spanish forces are, over here too, they just ended up in a position where they couldn't hold their supply line together, mainly because there's no road here, even if the coastline kind of looks like one. All right, it's time for me to play Raid. I'm not going to load this up yet because nothing happened in the winter. It's almost dawn, like 6 a.m. or so. I don't know. Second turn of March, weather is fair again, which is not that unlikely, but it's going to get much better very soon. Of course, summer is heat, and that's not good either, you know, but mud is really problematic. That means that the points that were spent on this attack, the maneuver, are not unwise. I am a little close to this with Allegre. I'm probably would be able to move into the hex if I wanted to upgrade to an attack order, which would unfortunately cost me a full point, even though I did the maneuver. You get no cheapies on people other than the Gran Capitan. So probably hold off until the next points that are coming up very shortly. We're going to see the transfer of the supply segment of the supply source for the Spaniards as well, so they get to play. A lot going on. Allegre moved up in conjunction with the unit that was here, ends up combining force, and we moved a couple of these suckers. This guy was already under siege. I actually switched him to a hold order, which I could do cheaply. The stand order always costs 0. Okay. Yeah. In order to pursue the siege, that allows me to avoid the previous attack thing if I want to use Albini for something more exciting. And that means it's time for attrition, which Albini definitely has to see to it. I don't think anybody else does. So again, he was at 4, 5, 6, 10, 12. So he's on the not good table. And the besieged forces now have a supply line going back, so they're on an okay table comparatively. Neither one gets hurt there. Oh, we had some reinforcements. Damn it, I never see them. I don't know why. I mean, I do. I notice and then I forget about them. So where were those supposed to go? I'm sure they wouldn't be going anywhere. So that is March 1st. Huh. March 2nd. Okay. Enter the map in any port in Terra de Bari or Terra do Tronto occupied by a Spanish fort. Well, gosh, that doesn't really work. Because I'm not centered there, right? I was supposed to be, but anyway, what I can do for this, and it was how many strength points? See, this is going to be problematic because there was no supply source this turn. But this can be centered with, it's going to be 4 points of Land's Neck. I don't know where the hell he is. Paredes is over there. We need Spanish minor Captain A. There is a Spanish force here, so I was able to put it here. He can hold 2 units due to rank. He's not really doing anything, but now he has no orders, right? Maybe, I don't know. See, there's no commander or whatever, so there's essentially no orders, so I think he's forced into garrison orders, but garrisons still get movement points, so I'm going to build myself some earthworks, which gives me a little bit better defense if it comes to that. I've got to break this to get those forces. That's the problem. Because I don't know, it's weird because I get reinforcements. My next reinforcements come in at Reggio. So, I mean, I've got to get control of this road link up, right? Albini is really causing me problems. Anyway, there was no attrition. We get this next set of forces here next turn. I'm going to load this up. I know, I'm stumbling around. This is just one of the problems I have with this game. And again, I just say that there's something cumbersome about it, and it just doesn't stick in my head very nicely. But anyway, let's send this up. We've begun the campaign season. We've kind of fleshed out some of what's going to happen, at least from the French side. We don't know quite where Cordoba is going to go. He has a couple of choices. He could go up here, and there's basically nothing in his way, which would mean Albini then has the choice of whether to pursue his aims down here or reverse course and fall back to try to deal with Cordoba, who probably has a stronger force. And I will be getting another commander in, see here again. Okay, there, no. See, there aren't enough commanders that it allows you to deal with these. So like appearing in any port hex in Lazio, Terra del Lavoro, Principata Citra. Well, yeah, I'm lucky I have La Police down there, but I might not have, right? Like, it feels very wrong if I have to guesstimate where I need to put my commanders. Here, yeah, okay, Spanish Minor A was not going to get used for anything. He was completely, he's not assigned to any reinforcements, so I can use him. But I don't have a French Minor that's unassigned. I've got one over here with Albini. Now, conceivably, he's not really doing anything for me. So I could consolidate these forces, loosening him so he could take command of a force if need be or whatever. But it's all very weird when you have forces showing up without a commander and maybe you don't have excess commanders. There's also the thing that, hey, I would have had to know about my reinforcements to have a force somewhere. As it is, all I had was a baronial force, but I guess that applies. But yeah, it's kind of fucked up. And it happens after orders are assigned and everything. Sure, I could go back and assign orders if need be. But there's something really, really weird about the way these work that just like does not make it easy to play. You know, are you supposed to memorize the entire reinforcement thing? Sure, if you're playing a seriously, heavily competitive game, you know, that you've decided to memorize the way that, like, you know, people who memorize Africa Corps or Stalingrad or whatever, or even Winter's War for a game that I really, really like. you could maybe make some argument, but there's almost no chance that there are people that there are a lot of people who are going to be playing this that competitively, where they're going to memorize, where all the reinforcements are going to come in and just know them ahead of time before they kind of stumble into them. It's just sort of the nature of the game, Now, I am never the person who memorizes where everything comes in, or very, very seldomly. There's very few games where I'm going to know enough about that. And they probably won't be ones that, like, most people would know. In general, I might know some vague things, right? But yeah, unless there's some kind of big reminders about, hey, you got to have a guy here or else you're screwed. But it's not even that clear. It's not like the rules actually say anything like that. But it's like, all right, what do I do if I can't? And what I would probably do is make things up. I've got a minor captain who does not have a letter with him. And I might just use a Turkish counter or whatever and just say, look, that's only fair or whatever. But I could have used all the Spanish ones. What? I just don't know. It's really... And then the fact that, there's reinforcements coming here just before winter, which I don't know. I just don't know. All right, let's send it up. But, yeah, it's like... The game is very clearly not aimed at the super competitive type of player, which means, maybe making this shit up isn't a big deal at all. But on the other hand, it just feels like I shouldn't be in a position where I have to know these kind of things, especially since these are they're Landsnecks or whatever, but it would make sense that I could not bring them in here, but bring them in over here. If I've switched the focus of my supply like I had to. I'm not so sure that the Spanish, and I don't know who's on their side here. Who do they have? Yeah, there's no Venetians or anything like that kicking in here. So, yeah, they're coming from Germany. They're probably going to be here. But you know what? They probably could make the slightly longer sea movement over here. Maybe with a risk, It feels like it's locking you in too much into the specifics of what actually happened as opposed to what was possible. And if you were in a situation where there was really no supply source back here, and things were cut off and the commander had left that behind, that would be problematic. Of course, it's not like I'm not going to screw things up anyway. I cut my own wrists by going up here. And what was it? The other thing was not paying attention to the points that were clearly in there. But, again, I screwed things up. And there's sort of, this is a lot less than things I've shrugged my shoulders about. So why am I going on about it? Yeah, I don't know. The thing I wanted to know is where this Saluzzo or whatever is going to come in. Here he's here. He'll be coming in Lazio or Terra del Lavoro or Principe Pato Citra. But, that's a new Gran Capitan. Anyway, like I tried to say before, it's going up. And I got some videos to watch because they just revealed something for Raid. I have to decide whether or not I'm going to waste another several weeks on.